Hi, and welcome to another eMedia Coach tutorial. Today, we'll teach you how to build a Wix website for free, from start to finish. It's so easy to create your stunning website with the Wix Website Builder. Perfect for beginners because it's a simple drag and drop interface which makes everything so easy to set up, even if you've never done this before. We'll teach you everything from creating your free account to setting up your website pages, layout, and content. Last week, we got quoted $1,500 for a business website. But with Wix, you can build a website for free, all by yourself. You can optionally upgrade to your own domain name, which we recommend if you're running a business, but more about that later. So, here's a website that we will show you how to create with the Wix Website Builder. Just keep in mind that the content and layout are completely flexible, depending on what you want to do. This site here is just a demonstration for teaching purposes. So on this site, we're going to show you how to add your own logo. We're going to go through the navigation, your own image slider right at the top, adding basic things like static images, static content, adding little service icons, a service bar, adding buttons, a footer. You have social media. We're going to link pages to different services. We have an About Us page. We even have a contact page with a customizable Google map and a contact form so your customers can easily find and contact you. So again, everything you see on this site you can customize completely to your liking, and we're going to teach you how to we're going to teach you the skills to do it yourself right now. Just follow along. So let's begin. Our first step is to create a free Wix account. Now, we're going to actually jump in today to the first step of building your site with Wix, and that would be to first create an account. Now, this is free, and the way you're going to want to do this is you have to copy the link in the description below and paste that into your browser. That's going to redirect you to the correct login or sign up page with Wix. Alternatively, you can go to emediacoach.com/Wix, and that will also redirect you to the proper login sign up page. So I have the link copied in my computer here, so I'm going to paste that into Google. We're going to go to that link, and it should come up with this page. You see some hikers. It should say create your own beautiful website. So I'll give you all a few seconds to get that link and get to the same page as me. Alright, so hopefully everybody's kind of caught up to where we are. And if you are, we can go to Start Now in the center. You're going to click that, and it's originally going to take us to a login page. Now this would be for existing Wix users, but since we don't have an account, we're going to want to click Sign Up. And with signing up for a Wix account, it's extremely easy, pretty straightforward. It's basically just requires an email and a password, and that's essentially it. That's all you need. In fact, there's actually no email verification either, like a lot of other sites require. Where you have to click a link to confirm your email. Wix does not actually require that. So we're going to enter in an email of our choice. So I'm just going to go with this one. And we're going to click Sign Up. So if you've been redirected to this page, then you've successfully set up your Wix account. It's really that easy. We left off on this page here that says, what kind of website do you want to create? Now, that's exactly what we're going to be going over in this video, is choosing the template that's right for you. And the reason why we have this in a separate video is that because Wix actually offers so many templates, it can be overwhelming. They have every industry covered under the sun. And if you're on this page, you can see right off the bat they have some broader industries: generic business, online store, photography, music, designer, restaurants, the list goes on. So from this page, it doesn't really matter what we select, so we're just going to choose business here. And it's going to take us to the template page, and this is where all the Wix templates are housed. So what we're going to want to do, or what you're going to want to do rather, is search the industry that you are in. So it can literally be anything. So for instance, if I search dance, I guarantee Wix has dance websites. And as you see, it loaded instantly. Dance instructor, Latin dance studio, just tons of different sites focused around dance. So, I mean, that's a pretty specific topic. You could basically search anything, and they'll 9 times out of 10 have it. So I'm just going to go back to our page here. I'm going to go back to our business. And let's say you're looking around and there's just so many templates you don't even know what to choose. And it can be hard just looking at the covers of what they have to offer here. So the best way of going about picking a template that's right for you is actually hovering over the template itself that you're thinking about and clicking this view button. And when you do this, it's going to take you into a preview mode of the site as a whole. So what it would actually look like if this was live online. Now, obviously, you'd have to fill in the blanks with your imagination. You know, imagine your own content, your own text, pictures, whatever you want to see on this site. But basically, this is what you would be looking at if you decided to go with this site. And of course, it can be modified to any extent you desire. But this is like an overview, a general quick look at what you could expect if you chose this template. You can also go in the top left corner here and hit this mobile view button. And when you do that, it's also going to show you a preview of what the site would look like on a phone when it loads here. And this is pretty cool. I mean, like, you can get a really, really good idea of what to expect for this template. Now, let's say this is what you decided that you actually really want to go with. Say you're on this template and you're like, wow, this is amazing. This is what I really want to work with. Then it's to choose this template, it's really as easy as hitting this button up here that says edit this site. Once you click this button, then you have committed to this site. You're going to work with this template. But of course, at any time, if you decide you don't like that template, you can change it at your disclosure. So when you click that edit the site, this is going to take you right into what Wix calls the site editor. And you're going to see that it brings up the entire site in its entirety, and you're now able to completely modify this site with your own content and your own text. So you've chosen this site. Okay, so now that we've created our Wix account and we've sort of sorted through all the different templates that Wix has to offer us, we can now sort of jump into the Wix dashboard, and this is the screen that we're looking at right now. When you sign into Wix, every time you're going to be brought to this initial screen that you're seeing right here. And I'm just going to kind of walk you through what you're looking at and what you can do from the Wix dashboard. So you're seeing here that there are all these different apps that Wix has to offer right off the bat. And a lot of these we won't go into too much detail with, but a few that are really worth pointing out are this email marketing app, which is something Wix calls shoutouts. And you're allowed 3 of these a month, and it's basically any emails that you collect from your website, you can actually send a mass email out to those customers or that list just by clicking the send a shout out. It's totally free. You're allowed 3 a month. That's a really helpful tool for businesses. The other one worth mentioning is this domain and mailboxes, which this is an area where we'll go into detail later of connecting your domain or any external emails you might have that you want to bring into this Wix site. Another one that's really important, especially if you have a web developer working with you, is roles and permissions. And if you jump in here, you can actually see you can add contributors. So that's kind of nice if you wanted to have your web developer take a look at the site, or friends, or anything of that sort. So another thing to point out on the Wix dashboard is over on the left hand side top corner, you're going to see manage site and your site. So this is the template I had chosen that we did in the last part. And if you had any other sites that you want to work with, say you were building more than one site in Wix, you would click this My Sites up here, and everything that you'd be working on would be under here. And as you can see, I can create a new site. You can be working on 2, 3, 4 plus sites, however many you want to work on, you can do that in Wix. And you can, toggle through them right in this top corner here. So if you click Manage Site, this takes you to the secondary dashboard, and this is specifically for whatever site you have selected. So this was the template that I had chosen from last time. So everything that we see here applies to this website only. So you can preview the site. Again, there's another option to connect your domain. You can rename your site. You can duplicate it, transfer it, delete the site, and you can also go to their site history, which is kind of nice. You can see different versions of your edited site. So that's kind of a look into the dashboard at Wix, and we're going to jump into the content editor next. So to get into our content editor, we're going to be in our dashboard here again, just after signing in. And so say we want to edit this site here, the one that we've selected and the template that we're working with. We would just go to, you could either click My Site and select Site, or you can quite simply just go to Manage Site and then Edit Site. When you click that, that's going to bring us into our content editor mode. And the content editor mode is quite different than the Wix dashboard, because unlike the dashboard, this is where you're actually going to be designing your website. So just kind of a brief overview of what we're looking at here, and we sort of looked at this in the templates, but I'll go into this more detail now. I have a blank template because we're going to be starting from scratch here, and for the sake of this video, we're going to look at all the different options we have here really quick. So we have a navigation up here in the top left corner, and this is showing what pages we have on our site. Additionally, we have all these tools over here that do different things for your editors. So for instance, this is background, so this would change the entire background of the site. So if I wanted to put a picture or a different color to the backdrop of our site, you do that here. There's this plus button, which if you click on this, it opens up into a whole realm of different options for your website. And these are all different content elements that we'll go into when we start building the homepage here. But all of these are the basically meat and potatoes of your website, and you're going to take all these to create your website. So below that we have the Wix app market, and that is something that is used for very specific purposes. So if you needed something very explicit, say you were a musician and you wanted to attach SoundCloud to your site, or you want a live chat on your site, anything very specific like that, you could probably find it in this Wix app market. Below that is upload, so any media or external content that's not within Wix and you want to get onto your Wix site, you would do so in this area. Below that is your Wix blog. If you had a blog on your site, you could add that from right here and just start typing away. And lastly, this is a newer one they've just added too, is Wix bookings. If you're a travel website, a restaurant, anything where you want people to sign up for something on a specific day and time, you can add this feature to your website, which is pretty cool, and people can schedule their own meetings or whatever they'd like. Additionally, up in the top again, we're going to move to the top right corner here. There's the different editors. So I showed you this earlier. You can switch between desktop and mobile to see what your website would look like on a laptop or desktop computer versus a mobile phone. You also have these three buttons here, which are crucially important. You have save, and when you click this, that will save every change that you've done to your site since you've logged in. And you want to remember to do that frequently, because if you don't, you will lose all your progress. So be sure to hit that save button a lot when you make changes. You also have a preview button, and when you click this, this allows you to kind of just scroll through your website and look at it as if it were live on Google or something to that effect. And you can also use this preview button to quickly get through different pages on your website, which I'll show you later on. And then the publish button, which I'm not going to hit yet, but when you press this publish button, that will instantly put your site live to whatever the connected domain you have with your Wix site. So that's a look in that top corner. Those are extremely important. And if we just move back into this area here, these are all more specific functions to help with building your website. So we have the site button, which gives us a lot of similar tools we saw in the top right corner, with the exception of some of these down here that we'll go into later. You also have different tools to help you design your site, so you can add rulers, you can add the toolbar, grid lines, and having objects kind of snap to different placements and lines on the website, which really helps when you're trying to design. You have a help button up here, and then you have the ability to upgrade your site, which is one of the last things we'll be doing when you're ready to put your site live. So let's look at the content editor. Now that we're all in the content editor, we're going to actually start jumping into building our homepage. And we're going to first go through the structure and get that sort of down. So we're going to jump right into it here. And the first thing that I like to do before anything else is adjust our header, which is this top bar up here. And when you hover over it, it actually will say header. So we're going to click on that, and we're going to start designing our header. And we're going to do this in just a few simple steps here. So if you left click on your header, it's going to bring up these buttons down here: help, design, settings, and change header design. All we really need right now is change header design. So we're going to left click on that. And when you jump into here, it's going to show you a whole bunch of different presets that exist. So we're going to actually run with this one up here, but of course you can choose whatever you'd like. So click on that, you're going to see your header change up here, and if you hit preview, it'll get rid of those lines, and you can actually see that our header now has this kind of shaded bar behind it. You can also jump back into there by left clicking on that and changing header design. You can get even further detailed by hitting this customize design button down here. And if you wanted to maybe have a specific color that you want the background to be of the header, you can do that in here by choosing one of the colors they have, or you can actually go to add color, and now you have the full spectrum of whatever you want to make your header look like. So that's a way to change the color. You also have the ability to change borders. So if you wanted to add, if we wanted a top border, we can do that. You also can adjust the roundness of corners by adding in a value in each corner. And you can enable a shadow underneath the header by just going and enabling shadow with this little checkbox right here. So I'm going to leave that shadow on actually. It kind of looks good. And we're going to X out of that. So now we have our header kind of designed however we like. We can also right click on it, and you can toggle this button right here that says freeze position. And if you do this, this will actually, no matter what, keep this header right here always in the viewer's eyes. So no matter how much they scroll down your site or adjust anything on your site, no matter where they are, this header will always show up. So some people prefer that on sites, some people don't. But if you want it, again, you right click it, the header, and then select freeze position or unselect it depending on if you really want that header to always show. So in our case, I'm going to have that freeze position on because I kind of like the scrolling header. So now we got our header set up. We're going to now go to the page design. So we can either do one of two things. You click on the center of your page and it'll bring up these two buttons, and you can either change your background or change the page design. So if you change a background, that applies a color or a picture to the backdrop of every page on your website. You can also select specific pages on which to do it, but generally that sets it for every page on your website. So keep that in mind. If we want just this page, so our home page, to be a certain color or have a certain image on the backdrop, then we would just go to this change page design. And now what I recommend doing actually is having something called no color selected, because you can put whatever you want later over top of that. However, you know, some people prefer to have different colors, so you can of course pick any color you want, But as you see, that'll adjust just the center of the page, which I personally am not a fan of the aesthetic, but for some people that might be what they want. So I'm going to leave that to no color right now. We've got our page header and our generic page design set up. So now let's start getting some of our structure done. To create more space on your page, say this isn't enough space, you can just go right down, and this is our footer down here. We can click that and this little arrow icon and scroll that all the way down till we feel we have enough space to work with, because anything between this top line and this bottom footer line is fair game for adding content that will show up on our homepage. So I'm going to move this down just a little bit more. And I think we're going to start off with adding a slideshow. So if you want to add anything to your website, you simply go over to our left navigation bar here and just go to this add button. If you click that, we have everything that we could possibly want to add. We have buttons, slideshows, galleries, images, text. You think of it, you can put it on your site. So I'm going to start with a slideshow because a lot of websites tend to usually have slideshows right in the beginning. So if you click slideshow, there's a whole bunch of different options that Wix offers. Full width slideshows, meaning that no matter what screen you're looking on the website, the slideshow will always go from end to end. You also have box slideshows that will just stay static in the center of your website. And you'll see what I mean here, because we're going to select a full width slideshow, so one of these at the top. So maybe I'll go with this one here, our About Us story. So you would just click that and literally drag it onto the page here. And now that your slideshow is on the page, you can actually just completely click on it and drag it wherever we want. So in our case, we want the slideshow to be at the very top, right up against our header. And as you'll see, there's a pink line that shows up in the center and across when you know you're exactly centered on the page, which that's going to help us later when we start adding more elements. But in our case, we're going to push the slider up to the top, and we know we hit the header when that pink line comes up. We can let go of it, the left click, and we now, if we click preview, we now have a header with a backdrop slideshow. And this slideshow happens to have videos in its place, which is kind of nice. And you can toggle through it. So it looks pretty good. So we're going to go back to our editor mode by clicking back to editor. And let's say we now want to maybe add some text underneath our slideshow. We can do that. But we need a little bit more space first, so we're going to, again, go back to the footer and click this little tab right here and just push him down a little bit. So now we've created a little bit of space, but let's say we want this text to be up against a different background color than just white. So again, we could change the page design by clicking on our page and hitting change page design, but I prefer to do it with something called strips. So if you go to add over in the left hand navigation, you can scroll down and there's all these things called strips, and you can add images or just colors, or they have a whole bunch of different options with different text here that you can work with. So I'm just gonna actually choose from the top here, just a classic black, and again we're going to click that and hold it and drag that onto our site, and now you see we can move it where we need. I'll push it up against our slideshow and I'll click preview to look at our changes. Now you can see we have this this black bar that goes across beneath our slideshow, so it's a different color from the white and it goes across our website, so it's full width and giving us a little bit of a different look here. So if you didn't want black or white, you would just click our strip, and you're going to see that this is starting to become a theme. Most anything on this website, if you click on it, will always bring up an option to change something. So if we click on our strip, it's going to bring up change strip background. So we're going to click on that, and it brings up this little window here. And in our case, we just want a color, but you could also change the strip to have a image or a video in it. But we're just going to go with color right now. And I think I'm going to actually add our own color and do some sort of a red here. Maybe something like so. We're going to hit add. And then actually, if you notice, there's a color palette down here. That red just got added to our color palette, which is really nice. So it's like a little shortcut, so you don't have to constantly keep trying to find that exact red. It'll just always have it here for you. So we'll close out of those. So we now have a red strip, and like I was saying, we want to add some text. So now that we've got our red strip, let's go up to the add button again, and we're going to actually go all the way to the top and select text. So there's a bunch of different options here. They have themed text, different titles, you know, all sorts of different things to work with. In our case, I want this to be sort of a paragraph. So I'm going to grab one of these two. You can grab either or, it doesn't matter. I'm not sure why they have two, actually, to be honest. You can grab either or. I'm going to grab this one, and I'm going to try and center it here with our pink line. So there we go. Oops, I think that's not centered. There we go. So we've got our text centered in our strip here. And so I don't like the black up against the red, so I'm just going to double click into that. And you'll see that all these options come up to change your text however you'd like. So for right now, I'm going to go into that a little bit more later, but I'm just going to change the color of it. And if we go over here, this is sort of like Microsoft Word now, these options. So I'm just going to hit color. I'm just going to change it to a white for us. And I'm just going to leave it at that for right now. So if we hit preview, we've now got a strip with some text, a slideshow, and a header up here. So we're starting to see a structure of a website come together here. I'm just going to click back to editor, and I'm going to bring up our footer. Let's say that's all we want for our home page. So we'll drag our footer back up to the top here. And the footer works exactly the same way as the header does, except it's at the bottom. So we'll left click on it, and you can change footer design. And maybe we want this gray one down here. So it brings up all these presets that you can choose from once again. So I'm going to click this gray one. And maybe we want some information down in our footer as well. So we're going to do the same thing by going up to add and grabbing one of our little paragraph texts and dragging it and centering it on our footer. And maybe we just kind of want to center that a little bit better. There we go. So now we've got some text on the footer. So we're going to go into kind of adding and editing all this content in just a minute here. But we now sort of have a generic structure of our website set up. So we've got our header. We've got some meat, like some content going on the center of our homepage. And we have a footer set up. So we're going to move on from here and start actually editing some of this content. Alright, so now that we have the structure of our Wix site sort of set up and down here, we're going to actually start editing the content and adding a little bit more explicit and detailed objects. So again, we're going to start back from the top and work our way down. So a lot of times in the header you'll see a lot of businesses will have a logo or their slogan or a brand name or anything so either centered or off to the left or to the right. So we're going to do that, and to do that we're going to have to add an image of our logo to the header. So we're going to want to go over to the left hand navigation again and hit add. And we're going to go to image right below text, and then go to my uploaded image, my image uploads. Sorry. So we're going to hit this. It's going to take you to a screen that looks like this. And this is an area where we can add any external media to our site that we want. And there's a couple ways. You can either do that by hitting upload images and selecting from wherever the file might be on your computer, or you can actually just move your browser out of the way and drag and drop the photo that you would like into our media bin. So I've done that here with this generic logo that I have. I'm just going to bring our window back. And if this is the proper image that you want, you can actually just hover over it, click it, it'll show a check mark knowing that that is the image that you've selected, and you can go down to this button that says add to page, and you can click that, and now your image is on your page, but it is not in our header by any means at all. So here's what we want to do. This is obviously way too big for our header, but if you click on the image itself, you'll see all these little dots kind of appear in the corners, sides, tops, and bottoms of your images, and you can actually click and hold and drag that until the image is sized according to what you want. So I'm going to think somewhere around there looks about right. I might have to adjust that again. If you click and hold, you can actually drag that up into the header, and you'll see when we go into the header here, it'll actually show a line showing that it's centered, but it also will highlight the entire header saying attached to header, which is exactly what you want, because you want this logo to always appear in the header, not anywhere else. So we're going to let go of our click and drop, and it's going to actually bring up this responsive message that says, look great everywhere. Want to fill the space outside the grid lines? Try a full width element. And that's okay, because we're just going to leave, that's referring to this line right here. We're actually outside of that. So it's just saying that just know that your site's going to look full width, which is what we want, because a lot of professional websites these days are full width. So we're going to leave that business header there. I'm just going to maybe adjust that just a little bit. So we've got our logo in the top corner now, and that's looking good. So maybe we want to go down to our slideshow here, and maybe we want to change some of the images. So we can do that by going and clicking on our slideshow, and you'll see there's these arrows at the top of your slideshow, and you can navigate through those, and that's going to take you to different slides that you have already. So we're going to want to go and change slide background up here, and again you see a theme. This window keeps popping up for a lot of different things. You can change the color, or add an image, or put a video there. So in our case, maybe we want a different picture. We can click image, and again we can upload our own images to this site. But additionally, Wix also has a completely free library of stock photos, which is extremely helpful if you do not have a lot of professional photography for your business. So if you go to this Free from Wix tab right here, you can click that, and there's all these photos that are completely royalty free, and you can use them at your site at your discretion. I mean, whatever you need, you can pretty much find it. So you can go up to search, and you can find whatever you want. Say you're in construction. If you search construction, Wix has a whole bunch of free stock photos related to construction. And hopefully you can find something that might work for your business until you can maybe get your own professional photography. But it's a really nice little feature to allow you to have a little more freedom with professional photography and letting your site look really nice without having to pay a fortune for it. So I actually like the images that we have in our slideshow right now, but I wanted to show you guys just how to add your own images to the slideshow. So I'm just going to X out of everything. But you would have selected your image, and it would have changed to whatever you like. Now we're going to scroll down here. So we're going to go back into this text here, because maybe we want to change this, obviously, to say what we want. So we'll double click on the text, and as you see, when you double click, it brings up a line editor, just like you would see when you're searching the internet, or if you're in Microsoft Word or anything of the sort. So we can actually edit this exactly how you would in something like Microsoft Word. You can just start backspacing and typing anything you want. It's literally that easy to edit text with Wix. So let's go ahead and highlight all of our text, and let's type in something like, "Hi, my name is Ryan, and this is my professional business website." Let's do something like that. So now that we have our custom text typed in, and it's that easy, we can adjust this text however we want. And I was sort of showing you this before with the color. We can now change anything else we want with it with any of these other buttons. So we can bold the text, we can italicize it, you can underline it, justify it. So if you want it centered, or maybe right justified, you can do that. I'm going to leave it centered for now. You can also add bullet points or numbers. You can add different effects to your text. So if you wanted shadows behind it, or if you wanted to be highlighted, which is way too much, jeez, you can do that. And what's beautiful about Wix is that you can see all this done in real time, which is really nice. And I just noticed I had a typo on professional, which is going to bother me. There we go. So, anyways, you can also adjust the spacing of your text down here. So if you wanted your characters to be spaced out a little bit more, you can do that here, which that actually looks kind of cool. So I might leave that. And you can also change line spacing by hitting Customize, and you can adjust, how much of a width you want between your lines. So maybe I'll leave that at 1.5. If we go back up to the top, you have the ability to change the font size. So maybe I will go to maybe a size 28, see if that looks okay. And then you can also change your font, which Wix has a whole realm of fonts. And normally if you're on any other website builder, a lot of times you have to use CSS or something of those lines to add a font style that you want, but Wix allows you to just easily scroll through a whole list of different fonts, and you can get a little preview of what they might look like on text, and you can just select that and go from there. It's really that easy. So I'm gonna find a font that I like here. Let's see this. Maybe not for this site. This is kind of a cool one, but that's a little too big. So maybe we'll just leave it at, let's see. How about a bold? Can't go wrong with that. So we've selected our font, we've changed the color, we've edited the text however we like, but this looks pretty scrunched up and not so great. So if your text is starting to look like this because you are your font size is too big or anything of that sort, again, there's these transform buttons that come up on the side, these little dots, and you can just drag that and you'll see that our text now gets pulled accordingly, and it's looking a lot nicer if we drag it to the center. So there we go, that looks pretty good. So I'm going to leave it like that. That looks pretty nice. But say maybe if we scroll it over just a little bit, maybe we want to add just a separate static picture here. We can do that by, again, going up to Add. We can add an image, and then you can go to, I'm going to go to Free Wix Images and just pull something from there. Let's just go to Business. Maybe I'll select this picture of the Brooklyn Bridge, hit Add to Page, and just because I chose from Wix doesn't mean that you don't have to. Again, you can use your own image uploads. And you get these transform tools again on almost every object in Wix, and it's so nice because you can just shrink or scale that image however you like and then just center it wherever you like, which is pretty great. Now one thing to note, so say these both aren't actually centered in the page right now. Say we like how this is spaced, like we like this little margin between the text and the picture, and we don't want to really change that we can actually select both of these items at once and have them centered perfectly. And to do that, you're going to click on one of them first. So I'll click on the text first. And then for Mac users, you're going to hold Command click. If you are a Windows user, I believe it's Control click. And if you click those two, you're going to see that there's this little dotted box that comes around both of our objects. And you can choose to group elements, and that will actually group them into one movable object, as you see here, which is really, really cool. And very easy, especially when you start adding a lot of stuff to your website. That starts to become a very, very helpful tool. So now I can perfectly center both of these objects. If I hit preview, you can see that that's looking pretty good. So last but not least, we're just going to move to the footer. And a lot of times we just want to edit the text in the footer to say, you know, copyright, whatever the year is. Oops, sorry, I got caps lock on. And we're going to center that text. And now we've got our little bit of text in our footer. Of course, you can add images or anything else you'd like to the footer, just as we did with this image. If you want, you know, a little more of a detailed footer, you can do that. But basically, if you want something simple like this, that's all you have to do is just have your little bit of text down there, copyright, whatever your year is, and your business name. So, anyways. This is looking pretty good. We've got some content edited, and we now have the structure and everything kind of down to a science. So we'll move on from here. Alright, we have a really good looking design now with some custom images, some custom text. The structure is looking good. So one thing we haven't done yet that's critically important is adding the navigation in our header, which is something we need to do because maybe we don't want just a homepage. Maybe we want more than just a homepage. So to do this, it's actually fairly simple. We're going to go over to the Add button again, and you're going to see something at the bottom here called Menu. And if you hover over this, there's all these different options that Wix offers, like usual, because they tend to have a lot of different things. And you can work with all these different, if you want vertical, horizontal menus, whenever you want, you can add it to your site. So in our case, I'm just going to use just basic text, so just plain text. So I'm going to grab this one, click it, hold it, and drag it onto our header until it says attach to header. So I'm going to do that and drop it. And now we're not seeing anything because I believe the text is colored white. And that's not a problem because just like any other object in our Wix web design here, we're going to just click it. And now we're going to go to Manage Menu or the Design button, which are the two that we'll want to go to the most. In our case, we're just going to click Design because we need to change our colors here. So I'm going to click Design. I'm going to go to Customize Design. And I'm going to click on Fill Color and Opacity. And this is for our drop-down menu. So if you had something behind your selected navigation, you could do that. We're going to ignore that for right now. I'm just going to go to the text one down here. That's what I'm looking for, is text. And we're going to just go to color and change this to black. And we're going to go to clicked over here and change this to maybe red because we only have one page right now, which is home. And because we're on that page, it's selected red because the clicked color means that if this page is clicked, our home page, it's going to show up red. And we can also do that with hover too. So as you're hovering over the buttons, you'll see what I mean here in a minute. We're going to make that red as well. So we can click out of there. Now that we have our navigation, up here in our header, we now want to maybe start adding some more pages. So to do that, we're actually not going to go over to this section for once. We're going to actually go to the top left corner where you see it says Home up here. Going to click that, and this is where all your pages will sit. So we're going to now go down to Add Page. And when you click that, it'll give you a few different options. You can add an entirely blank new page, as in what we started with on the home page. You can add a link, so if you wanted that button to go to another website or another web page, you can do that. Or you can add a menu header, which is a completely different pack of pages, as it says, and links under one unclickable header. So like this image is showing right here, it's a bunch of different little drop downs. So we're just going to create a new page, and maybe we want it to be about us. So to name your page, you just double click up here and just type as you like. So I'm going to name it just about. And let's also add just a contact page, just to keep it simple. And if you want to rearrange how these are adjusted in your navigation, as you'll see, it goes home, contact, and about right now. But say we want that to be home, about, contact, you just grab this little dot graph here and drag that down, and now you've got it reorganized. Additionally, if you wanted to create a drop-down menu, so say we wanted a page under about, maybe like an FAQ page or a fact page, we can do that by creating a new page again. And now you would drag it, but instead of just dragging it beneath the about page, you would actually pull it to the right. And as you'll see, it creates this little arrow like so. And now you don't see it in our menu. However, if you hit preview and you go to about, you'll see there's now a FAQ page below our about us sections and not beneath the home or contact. So that's looking pretty good. So I'm going to go back to home. And yeah, we now have a working navigation with a drop down, and it's colored exactly how we'd like. We're going to go a little bit more in depth with the home page here and the content that's on it. We have our header set up. We also have a slideshow now, and we created this strip that could sort of be used as a little about us section almost that you could feature on your home page. But we're going to add one more section, and this is something you commonly see on a lot of professional websites, and that is a services strip. So a lot of times you go to websites, you'll see some primary services with some icons featured on a home page, just to give you a rough idea of what their business does. And this is something that's commonly done, and we're going to just add that to our site too to show you how it can be quickly and easily done within Wix here. So we're going to go up to the add button here, and of course we want to start with another strip. So I'm just going to grab a color. You can of course do an image or a video, whatever you'd like, but we're just going to go with a colored one here, and we're going to scroll it all the way down, as far down as I can go, and drop it, and that way it falls right below our strip. And that's important because if you don't put it below it, it's going to throw it above it, and you're going to have to rearrange things. So keep that in mind. I'm also just going to stretch the strip out a little bit by grabbing the arrow key down here and just resizing it just a little bit so we have a little bit more space to work with. I'm also going to click on the strip and then hit Change Strip Background, select Color, and I'm just going to change it to a basic white for right now and see how that looks. So we've got our white strip in place. Now basically what we're going to want to do from here is start adding our service items. So we're going to pretend that we have 3 services that we offer on this site. So there's a couple ways of going about doing it, and one is a little bit easier than the other, but it really comes down to your personal preference in terms of design. So we're going to go up to the add button again, and I'm just going to show you quickly the easiest way to do this. You can go down to something called List, and if you scroll in List a little bit, you'll see there's news, events, testimonials, all sorts of different things. You can add this block right here. They have 3 of them that are different looks at services. So a common one would be this guy here. If we click, hold, and drag him onto our site, you'll see we now have 3 services listed right in a row here. Now, something to keep in mind is that you can't make this horizontal. This has to stay vertical like this. However, you can click on that item and click Add and Manage Items. And you can go within each service and title your services as so, like this. And then simply by closing out or clicking back, your services will be inputted into these sections here. So that's a really quick and easy way of adding services to your site. However, we want to get a little bit more custom, and we kind of want it to go horizontal, not vertical on this site. So I'm going to show you the alternative way to doing this. We're going to just hit delete or backspace to get rid of that guy. And I'm just going to go about and start doing this the good old-fashioned custom way here by going back up to Add. And we're going to pretend that we want these services to be featured in circles. So I'm going to go to Shapes here, and if I find Circle, there's our circle. Just going to click and drag a circle onto our page. I'm going to resize the circle by clicking the corner and kind of bringing it to about, let's say, 175 by 175. Perfect square. And I'm just going to drag it over to our side here. And I said I wanted 3 services, so I'm just going to hit click on this, right click, and we're going to copy. And we can paste this object so that way it remains the exact same size. I'm going to center it and just paste it one more time. And this is just keeping everything perfectly in line and perfectly the same size as well. So now we've got 3 little icons right there that we can work with. Now, preferably we'd like to put some images inside these circles. So I'm just going to work with, I'm going to go over here to the Add again. And I'm just going to go back to our shapes and see if I can find any fun little icons to put in there. So maybe we want to go with something like these. Let's go with this. We can maybe go, let's grab this guy. We'll center it in one circle. I'm just going to make these white as well by clicking on it and selecting color. And I'm just going to, for the sake of time and our purposes here, I'm just going to copy and paste this over onto our other services here. So there we go. We've got 3 icons set up. And we want to put a little bit of information under each of our 3 services here. So to do that, we're just going to go back into Add. And we're going to grab text like we did before with our About Us strip up there. And we're just going to grab a small heading to start. We're going to just drop that. Maybe shrink the size. I'm going to double click that heading. And I'm going to center it for our sake by clicking that. And I'm just going to double click and rename this Service 1. So we've got Service 1 put here. And now just kind of push this up below our circle, all drag and drop. Of course, you can lay this out however you'd like, but I'm just going to sort of lay it centered like so. I'm going to copy and paste this item across our services here. So now we've got our 3 services centered and sort of shaped up on our strip here. And then we also want to put just a little bit of a description below our services as well. So we're going to go back to the Add, and we're going to click Add Text, and we're going to grab just a little paragraph here. And I'm also going to just drag and drop and center that with our lines here. I'm going to maybe, see, count it down 20 clicks below on the Y-axis. That's a really helpful feature, by the way. See that X and Y? You can see the grid, how far you're going down, so that will keep you in line with every other shape that you use, which is extremely helpful. So I'm going to put that at 1034. I'm going to double click. I'm also going to center this text as well. And I'm just going to, for the sake of time, copy and paste by right-clicking, paste. We're going to do this across each of our 3 services, just so we have a good solid layout of what we're talking about here. Perfect. So I'm just going to rename these as well to Service 2, Service 3. So this is starting to come together now. We've got picture our 3 icons here. Then we have the service title below it, and then we also have a little bit of a text or description below our 3 services as well. So that's starting to look pretty good here. Now, one last thing we might want to do, this is of course optional, is we could actually add a button below each of these services that could take us to the page that corresponds to these services. So say we actually had a Service 1 page, Service 2, and Service 3 page. We could actually create a button that will hyperlink to those pages. So let's just do that real quickly as well. We're going to go to the Add button, and there's actually a section called Button, and they have a whole bunch of different options to choose from. So I'm just going to select this top one. I like this rectangle a lot. Drag and drop, and I'm going to center this below our text here. I'm going to also copy and paste this button across our other services as well. Alright, so that looks pretty good. We've got our 3 services with our descriptions and buttons that are going to link to our service pages here. Now I'm just going to actually command click, or if you're on Windows, control click everything that I have here. And bear with me while I do this. And the reason why I'm doing this is I just want to have all this centered on our strip, and by selecting all this we're going to be able to do that here in just a second. Okay, so I have all of our elements selected. Now I'm just going to drag this until I see that pink line come up and I know that we're perfectly centered. There we go. I'll click off these elements, and there we go. We've got all of our services perfectly centered on the strip. So that looks pretty good. Now what we're going to want to do is link these buttons to Service 1, 2, and 3 pages. So first we need to create those service pages, and we're going to do that by going up to this top left corner with the Pages menu. We're going to click on that, and we're going to want to click Add Page. So click Add Page, click Page, and we're going to call this page Service 1. And for the sake of time, you can also click this little arrow icon and then click Duplicate, so that way we can create 2 other service pages very quickly here. Rename that to Service 2. Duplicate that one more time. We'll rename this to Service 3. So there's our 3 services, but if you notice in our navigation, it's showing as a complete line out like that, and we don't really want that. We want this to come as a drop down. So what we're going to do is click Add Page again, click a new page. We're going to call this one Services in general, just Services. Oops, and I'm going to capitalize that all just to keep it congruent. And then what we're going to do is drag and slide to the right our service pages underneath the Services tab. So literally just click, hold, and slide it to the right, and you'll see it forms this line that creates this sort of daisy chain of our 3 services. And they are now all under this one main services page. So that's as easy as that. I'm just going to click Preview so we can quickly jump back into our home page here. Click Editor again. Scrolling down. Now we want to link these buttons to our services page, so this would be Service 1. So to link this button to that page, all we have to do is click this little chain right here. And when you click this chain, this is going to bring up this menu that we can click which page. And if we select this, you'll see it'll bring up all the pages on our website, and we can hit Service 1. And when you hit Done, this button is now linked to our Service 1 page. So if we click it, it now has taken us to our Service 1 page. And we're going to do the same thing for the other 2 buttons as well here. So by clicking Link, click this, we're going to hit Service 2. I'm going to click link, click this, and service 3. So all of our services are lined up. We now have a perfect strip with these services, and it's as easy as that. So we're going to move on to the next section. Since we now have a couple of new pages here, the About, FAQ, and Contact page, I figured it would make sense to add a couple of very common things to the Contact page that you generally see. And those two things would be a map, like a Google map, and a contact form, because those are two very generic, general things that you'll want to see on a contact page. So I'm in preview mode. I'm going to go back to editor. And again, to add anything, we're going to go up to the add button on our left-hand side. Click that. And there's actually specific sections for both of these. So I'm going to first add the contact form. And to do that, you're going to go to this contact button. And as you'll see, there's a whole bunch of different form options and looks that Wix offers here. They have a lot of vertical, horizontal layouts, a little more bubbly, more square, but I'm just going to go with, I think, one of the more basic ones right at the top up here. So I'm going to pick this guy here. Just drag and drop it in, just like the rest of our objects on our site. And now, Wix has this contact form pretty much all set up for you. All you really have to do is, of course, set the email you want your messages going to. So to do that, when you click on the contact form, it's going to bring up all these buttons like normal. You're going to hit the set your email, and you can, of course, set whatever you'd like. In my case, I have my email put in there, but you can have whatever you'd like. And then you just close right out of it, and there you go. Your email contact form is set completely up, so when people message you, it will be directed to that email. You can also get a little bit more in depth with the design options of the contact form. So by clicking design and then customize design, there is all the options like we see on our other tools. So, but in this case, there's a lot of different things like button background. So I'm going to change that to our red. And you have the ability to change your borders, corners, adding shadows, and also what the text in the fields look like. But for the most part, I just want to change our button color, and that looks pretty good to me. So we now have a fully functioning contact form on our site. And what we're going to want to add next, like I was saying, was a map that we'll put maybe next to it. So we're going to go back over to the add button. And we're going to scroll down to contact once again, because they are both under the exact same field. And as you see, there's a map right here. And there's also, if you keep scrolling down, a whole list of different colored Google Maps. And these are squares. You'll see there's also, as we go down here, full width Google Maps. So meaning that they will go across the entire screen that we're looking at. And there's a whole bunch of different options, and there's even further different map options other than Google Maps, like this online business card. However, those start to become paid apps. So we're just going to stick with some of these free ones up here. So I'm going to grab this classic highway look, because that tends to be a look for Google Maps. And we're going to drag this and drop it here. And I'm just going to get this kind of centered to how I like it. I think that looks pretty good. Maybe a little bit more like so. And if you want to adjust where your location is, you can do so simply by clicking on the object and then hitting change address up in the top corner. And when you do that, you can just literally put in whatever address you like, hit the find button, and it will the map will redirect to that address, and you can of course name it whatever you want. So this is, I believe, Wix's office in San Francisco, but you can name it to anything like my business, and hit the set button, and you're all good to go. You've now got your map and contact form on your contact page. Alright, if you've made it this far, you should give yourself a pat on the back, because you've just set up a simple yet very functional and professional looking Wix website all by yourself. So we've gotten through the structure, the design, we've set up all of our pages, we're pretty much ready to go. But one thing that's really worth noting before we start to connect our domain is looking at the different hosting plans that Wix has to offer. So you're going to constantly be seeing all these advertisements for this upgrade to premium while you're building your website and while you're in the dashboard, like right here where I am now. So let's just, if you hit this upgrade now, nothing's going to happen. It's not going to, throw you into a checkout or anything like that. It's just going to show you the different plans that Wix has to offer. So Wix, believe it or not, is actually extremely cheap compared to a lot of different plans that are out there when it comes to hosting, because you get your site builder along with it, and you get all these really cool features that you normally wouldn't get when you're just paying for hosting by itself. So Wix has 5 different plans here that you can choose from. I'm just going to walk you through what each one is and what's right for each person. So the first one is the most simple. It's $5 a month as of right now in 2017, and it's to just connect your domain, and that's it. So if you have your domain www.mywebsite.com or whatever it might be, you can connect that to your website for just $5 a month, and you're going to get a little bit of bandwidth and a little bit of storage. But the downside to this is that Wix ads are going to show on your website. And of course, not everybody really wants that, when it's your own website. The next step up is Combo, which is, like they say, for personal use. However, I have used this with some smaller business websites. You're going to get 2 gigabytes of bandwidth, 3 gigabytes of storage. You can connect your domain, and it's going to remove those Wix ads. So you basically get everything you would possibly need in this plan for $10 a month, which ends up being about $120 a year. It's not too bad. And 2 gigabytes of bandwidth is more than enough if you just have some videos and some media on your site. Nothing, like if you were a photographer, that might not be great if you're showcasing a whole bunch of videos or photos on your website. But if you're a simple business with just some photos, some videos, and decent traffic but nothing out of control, this is actually not a bad plan. However, what I recommend for most everyone is this middle ground plan, the most popular one that Wix states, which is definitely, for various reasons, it's called Unlimited. It's $14 a month, so it's a little bit more. You're looking at more like $160-ish a year. You get unlimited bandwidth, so no matter how many photos or videos or whatever you're doing, or traffic-wise, it's going to be able to handle it for the most part. You're going to get 10 gigabytes of storage, which is really good, especially if you have a lot of media on your website. You can connect your own domain, the ads are gone, and you get all these little advertising vouchers, which you can, do with what you'd like, but they're nice to have. And the plan itself is just gives you a lot more freedom, and takes away a lot of worries of if you decided you did want to start putting a lot of pictures and videos, and maybe your site started doing extremely well and you had tens of thousands of visitors a day. This plan really kind of puts your mind at ease, where and allows your website to really grow without you having to worry about all that extra functional stuff. Now, if you step up one more plan, it's the e-commerce plan. Now, this is basically the unlimited plan here, except for the fact that if you're a website that's going to be selling something, so if you're a jewelry store or you're a t-shirt company, you would have to select this plan because you're going to be selling through Wix, and to do that, you need this e-commerce plan to enable that ability to sell through a Wix website. So unfortunately, if you are an online seller, these first 3 plans are completely out of the question for you. You have to go with this plan. But again, that's only for online sellers. If you're not selling online, then I would still recommend this unlimited over everything. And last but not least, there's VIP, which is everything that you see with all these plans entwined. Plus, you get basically completely dedicated support and professional site reviews from Wix themselves. which is, not very necessary for the common user. However, if you're an enterprise situation or you're a larger corporation, then VIP might be the way to go if you're looking for very dedicated support from Wix. So those are the plan options, and right now you're going to go through and pick whichever one you feel is right for you. Okay, we've looked at all the plans, our site's ready to go. Now for the most important step of the entire process, and that would be connecting our own domain name. Now, to do this, first and foremost, we need a plan that is paid for and up and running, because we can't connect a domain without that. So as I mentioned, select a plan that fits right for you. However, I recommend unlimited. So we're going to actually go with the unlimited plan. And when you jump into that select button, it's going to take you to a screen that looks like this, that shows you how you can pay for this plan. You can do a monthly subscription, yearly, 2-year subscription, or 3-year subscription, and it discounts for every additional bit of time you add on. So I'm going to end up going with this yearly selection, and it's just going to take you to a checkout screen. And I'm not going to go through this, but you of course can go through, add your own information. Also, they have promo codes, so search on Google for that, because you can sometimes find some really good promo codes to get some money discounted from your total, and submit your purchase, and that's all you have to do. Your plan will be activated automatically, ready to go. So I'm going to X out of that, and as you are all filling that out, you can pause this video and take the time to fill out that checkout and get your information in there. And once you're done with that, we'll jump back in, and now we're going to connect our domain. So to do this, there's a few different areas you can go. You can go to domain and mailboxes, or you can quite simply go to the left and hit connect your domain. Now, I can't go very far in this because I just did not pay for the plan. However, you did, so what you're going to end up doing is go to this connect a domain that you already own. So this is assuming that you have bought your domain from, say, GoDaddy or Google Domains or any of those other domain host providers. If you have your domain bought and ready to go, all you have to do is click this connect a domain you already own. Now it's showing me that I can't go any further because I don't have a plan that I paid for. However, since you do, this is going to take you to a alternate screen that will show you a menu saying, asking you where you bought your domain from. So if you bought it from, say, GoDaddy, you would select GoDaddy, type in the domain name that you have. So if it's, say, mywebsite.com, type that in, and then all you have to do is follow these steps that Wix will provide, and it makes it very, very easy for you to set up your domain name to your Wix website if you just follow the instructions explicitly that Wix gives you. So it's not too hard. Just follow the directions, but this is where you have to go to set up your domain. By this point, hopefully you have your domain connected to your Wix website after following those instructions. And now we're going to jump into just another area of design, and we're going to publish our website so it gets live. So we're going to go back into the editor here by going up to here, selecting our site. And we're going to click Edit Site to jump back into our content editor. And so now that your domain's connected, when our website opens back up, this is when you're going to want to finally hit that publish button. So when you click publish, boom, your site is officially live, and you can go to that domain and give it about 24 hours, because sometimes it doesn't automatically connect, but it should be live within 24 to 48 hours. So now that your site is completely live, we're going to look at one other aspect of design that you probably want to do to make your website really stand out, and that would be editing a mobile view of your website. So we're going to go back up to this mobile button that I've discussed quite frequently, and we're going to hit this Edit Mobile View. And so you're going to see Wix will try and adjust the content to fit on a phone for you. So this is what the mobile editor looks like, and you can again just drag and drop every item as we did in the desktop editor. You also have a much briefer navigation section on the left hand side. You can change the background. There's also this mobile button. You hit this and there's a lot of different things you can do. Switch the way your site looks. You can add a back to top button. You can also add something called a mobile action bar, which is this little guy. If I turn it on, there is a section that will come up with a whole bunch of different options at the bottom of your mobile website. So as you see down here, there's like a little mobile bar, a call option, email, a GPS finder, all these little things that you can add to your mobile website if you would like. I'm going to leave those off for now, but this is a look at the mobile editor, so we're going to start going in and actually editing our site again to make it look nice on a phone. Let's start editing the mobile view. So actually I'm pretty happy with how Wix auto-laid everything that was on our site into the mobile view. It actually looks pretty nice if this was on a phone. But there's just some things I want to tweak and rearrange, because more often than not, especially if you're dealing with more complex sites as you start to build later on, things can kind of get jumbled up, or they can be too big or too small, and they get, you know, misaligned on the mobile view. So let's take a look here. The first thing I want to start with is this text. Is moving text around. So maybe we want to just adjust our slideshow's text and just kind of center it a little bit more, because that was sort of floating up at the top. So we can just simply drag and center that, although that doesn't look too centered. There we go, that's looking a little bit better. Another thing we can do is drag our menus so everything is touching each other's with the header. We can also, you know, adjust our logo size again, just like we did in the desktop editor. However, that's all looking pretty good, so I'm going to leave that let be. Another thing down here is text a lot of times can be way too big or way too small when you're dealing with the mobile view. So in this case, it's a little bit too big. So just like in the content editor in the desktop view, we're going to double click on the text. And you unfortunately can't change any of the text in mobile view. You have to change it in desktop. However, you can change the size of it on the mobile view. And something very important to keep in mind is that when you change anything on a mobile view, that won't actually affect the desktop view. It will only explicitly affect how it looks on a phone, not on the laptop. So it's almost like a totally separate site builder, even though it's still your same site, if that makes sense. So I'm going to leave this centered, but I really just want to shrink this text so it looks a little bit nicer. So maybe something like that. You can just drag and drop the font size. You can also change the color a little bit, but that looks pretty good now compared to what it was. I'm just going to center it again. And then I'm also going to rearrange our footer. I'm going to bring this text down and center that as well. So our mobile view is now looking pretty good on our home page here. And you would do the same for any other page that you have on your website. A lot of the mobile editing in Wix is just basically a lot of dragging and dropping and resizing. But basically, that's as far as the design goes when it comes to the mobile view. Now, something important to note is there are a lot of things that might not show up on your mobile view, and a reason for that might be because of this little guy over here. On the left side, there's something called hidden elements, and in our case, nothing's hidden. However, if you had a more complex website and there's maybe some videos that are flying everywhere on your desktop version, they might not show up on the mobile version, and if you wanted them to show up, you could unhide them in this section. So for instance, I'm going to hide this logo on purpose, and you can hide things on purpose by clicking on them and then selecting this hide element. And when you do that, you'll see it automatically opened up this hidden element tab here, and it'll show us everything that isn't showing on our mobile editor right now. So for instance, that logo I just hid, if we want that to show, we would just hover over this little eye symbol here and click Show Element, and it'll put it there for us. So keep that in mind. Another thing we're going to want to look at in terms of design is the mobile menu, and this is one of the trickiest things on the mobile editor, but it's one of the most important things as well, because it's completely different than the navigation that we see on our desktop. So it always shows us these three little lines, so you can click on that, and you can hit this design little paintbrush here. And we can go to, there's a whole bunch of preset designs, but we can just go to customize design. And it's going to show you all these different previews. So if you click this guy at the top, any of these 5 selections, this is how your menu would look like if someone opened it on a phone. So for instance, if we hit selected this one, when somebody goes to hit those 3 little bars, this whole window would open up on your phone with all your different pages. So in our case, I think I'm just going to leave it simple like this, since we only have a few pages. And you can change the menu however you like. You can change the color of all the different things. So like this icon here, the little X, you can maybe make that red. You know, our selected page, we can also change that to maybe a red. You can change your text color, you can change how the text is aligned, all sorts of different things. And then this is in the open view. If you hit closed, it goes back to these 3 bars, and you can even change how these 3 bars look. So if we wanted the 3 bars to be red, you can do that as well. You can change the size and the width of the 3 bars. Anything you like, you can do it in this design editor right here. So once you have your mobile design all set up and it's looking the way you want it to, you can save it and you can hit publish now. And if you go and look at your site on your phone, you should see that it looks like this instead of the desktop version, which looks like that. So go ahead and try that out for yourself. Take a look and we'll move on from there. We're back in our desktop editor here. So now that we have our mobile design done, our domains connected, everything's all set up, our website's live and ready to go, we're going to look into just a little bit of some of the advanced features that Wix offers for higher-end developers, or for you, the users, that you might want to use as you start getting more comfortable and familiar with your Wix website in the future. So a lot of these can be found over in the Add button, and if you go down to More, there's a whole bunch of little extra things that Wix offers that you might not need or know about in the beginning here, but might come in handy later on. So, for instance, under Add More, they have an area where you can embed an entirely different website into your website, which is kind of a nice little tool if you were trying to promote a different website you had or anything of the sort. You also have an HTML code option. So if you want to add your own custom coding to your website, you can do so through this block here, and I'll show you what this looks like. If you click and drag it and drop it onto anywhere on your page, it's going to look like a gray square at first, but if you hit this Enter Code button, it then brings up this little block, and you can use this little block to copy and paste or write, if you'd like, any HTML code you would like. It will accept anything and everything such as iframes, H1 tags, body content, anything you can think of that's coded in HTML will work in this block. If you're using JavaScript, unfortunately, as of right now, Wix does not support that, and it's something that's been pushed for a long time, so hopefully in the future we'll see that. But I'll just show you, for example, if you wanted to add an H1, like a title, you could do so in the custom code and hit update. And it's hard to see up against our background here, but there is in fact a word that says title right there. So our H1 code has worked, and that's again just the HTML code feature that Wix offers. So it's nice for coders, developers, for anything specific that needs to go on the website. Alternatively, we also have an option for Flash Player. So if you had any very specific coded videos, you can add those to your website. You also have a webmaster login that I added to our footer here. You can drag and drop that in there. And this basically just allows you to sign in to the back end of your website without actually having to go to Wix.com. So that's kind of a little ease of use feature if you're a webmaster or the developer of the site. There's also a member login function that you can add to your website if you had subscribers or specific people that could only go to specific pages on your website. Say you had a promotion going on and you wanted people to sign up or enter their email to get to a certain page. You could do that with this block right here. And lastly, there's something worth talking about are anchors. And anchors can be used to be placed on a page such as this. You drag and drop it. And what the anchor allows you to do is navigate to a certain part of the page by hitting another button elsewhere. So say we're on the About Us page, you could click a text, a button, or anything of the sort on that page, and it would automatically scroll you right to this line right here where the anchor text is placed. So that's kind of a nifty little feature that is a little more in depth, but you can use it certainly in the future for if you want to have a little more stylistic scrolling or navigation on your website. The last area we're going to focus on for our Wix website is we're going to briefly cover a little bit of what Wix offers when it comes to SEO tools or search engine optimization. Now, if you're unfamiliar with search engine optimization, this is a process, a technique, a whole field that allows you to help your site better rank on major search engines such as Google, Yahoo, and Bing. So Wix actually offers quite a bit of different features to help you accomplish that. And there's a few worth noting more than others, so I'm going to show you those right now. If we go up into our desktop editor here and go to our top left navigation with our menu again, if you click these three dots right here, there's going to be something that comes up that says Page SEO. And if you click that, you can actually go into this section that is completely devoted to adding different things that will help your site rank on Google and other search engines. So, for instance, you can do this for every page that you have on your website. This is our home page. We can name this page whatever we want in the title here. So this filling out this line right here is accomplishing a meta title. So metadata is what Google looks at from a backend standpoint and can help your site rank. And this isn't anything that anyone will really see necessarily on your website. This is more or less just for Google's sake. So for instance, the meta title, we can type in something along the lines of professional business services, and then maybe a breaker, and then whatever your business name is. So that would be an example of a meta title you could put for your home page. So obviously this would be whatever you do followed by your business name. And then you can add a meta description by saying this is my business and this is what we do. And maybe add a location in wherever, and then maybe say add a call to action, call now. And that would be a solid meta description to have right there. So now that we have a title, a description, you can also add keywords if you like. However, keywords are sort of a dying art in the SEO world. I still think they're worth putting on your site, but whether or not they actually help is starting to become another story. But you could put in, different words related to what you do, whatever your service is. So you could just say business services, and then use a comma to separate those keywords, and then so on and so forth. So that is a keyword section. And then if we go down, we also have the ability to edit our page URL. So this is the actual URL that we would provide people with to get to our page. So I'm going to go off the home page for this one and go to the About page and hit Page SEO. And you can completely edit this URL to be whatever you want. So say the About page, you wanted it to be about, you wanted it to say maybe web design. If you did web design, you could create the URL to say web design, and that is now your About page URL. And that can slightly help with Google understanding what your page is about as well. So that's kind of a nice, easy way to change the complete URL of your different pages. It's pretty helpful. Additionally, when it comes to SEO, there's a little more advanced stuff you can do. If you go up to the top, you can hit Site and go down to Site Manager. And when you're in Site Manager, when it loads, there's a section for SEO here. You can click that. And this will give you a whole bunch of different settings and options for SEO. So for instance, there's Wix's SEO Wizard, which will help scan your site and tell you what you can do to better enforce it for Google. There's also a lot more advanced settings such as header code. So if you wanted to add Google Analytics code, or if you had maybe Google Search Console tags that you want to add here, anything of that sort, this would place it in the header code of your website. And this is unfortunately the only area you can do that. So this is important for developers, or if you have analysts for your website that want to add tracking codes, this is where you would do that. You can also do 301 redirects here, and those would be used for if you were redesigning your site and building it in Wix when it was maybe built in straight HTML or WordPress or whatever beforehand. You could redirect all your old domain names, or all your old URLs to the new URLs of your Wix site. And you could do that simply by hitting this Get Started, and all you'd have to do is paste your old URL and send it to whatever the page that correlates with in your new website and hit Save. It's pretty straightforward. So that's a look at the SEO on Wix, and once you've done that, you now have a fully functioning website with optimized pages ready to go for search engines. Well, that's it. That's all we have for you. You've officially, if you've made it through this entire video, you've set up your website for desktop, for mobile. It's looking great. It's optimized for Google to some extent, and your website is basically ready to go. Keep playing around with Wix. Keep tinkering with the different options they have, and you'll get it in no time. Wix is very intuitive and very hands-on, which is very unique compared to a lot of web builders out there these days, which still use a lot of coding, or you're not as visual based as Wix. So that's the nice part about it, and the more you use it, the better you'll become with it. But I hope this gave you an overlook of how to use Wix a little more thoroughly and got you on the right path to becoming a Wix expert. This video was brought to you by emediacoach.com, and we thank you for watching this. Make sure to upgrade your plan to premium, and we'll see you in our next video. Take care, everyone.